Hi there, you are in the right place for a case study, how a packaging company increases brand recognition by printing customized shipping boxes on demand. Sponsored by Memjet and hosted by WebAttract, the leader in educational webinars. I'm Lori Dearman, Executive Webinar Producer with WebAttract, and I'll be one of your moderators for today's session. And in just a moment, we'll be introducing our thought leaders, as today's webinar is about hearing from these experts as they share their expertise on how new printing technologies provide flexible, cost-effective, and impactful packaging. Now, for those of you who haven't heard of Memjet, Memjet supplies innovative printing technologies to enable manufacturers to improve label processing and packaging operations in a shifting marketplace. The company maintains its corporate office in San Diego, California. Now, for anyone who might be wondering, we've invited you, along with over 250 professionals across a variety of industries, 34 states and provinces, covering approximately 20 countries. And over the next 60 minutes, regardless of your industry segment or your location, we're confident that you'll find today's webinar of value. Now, before we get started, I would like to invite Tina Voss of Memjet Print Technologies, our sponsor for today's webinar, to welcome you and share what she hopes you'll get out of today. So over to you, Tina.
Thank you, Lori. We are excited to have two packaging experts that will share their customized packaging strategies that will help you connect better with customers, but also bring value to your packaging supply chain. So these two, Kevin and George, are going to do a great job of just walking through that process. So thank you so much for coming.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tina. And folks, just before we jump right in, we do have the first of our live interactive polls to put up for you. And we would like to hear from each of you, just to get a sense for our panel members today. What are your current packaging challenges? Options here: high order quantities to keep costs down, speed to market, tooling costs, lack of brand consistency and print quality, obsolete inventory. In this case, you have the opportunity to select all that apply. All right, looks like we have a front runner here with 47% saying high order quantities to keep costs down, 37% speed to market, 28% tooling costs, 35% lack of brand consistency and print quality, and 28% obsolete inventory. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us, and I'm going to go ahead and put those results down and give you a quick intro to our program for today. So we'll be hearing from Kevin Kardstedt as he helps us set the stage with a brief industry overview, followed by George Moretti of Innovative Integrated Solutions, and he'll share with us a real case study, including challenges, successes, and lessons learned along the way. So getting started with Kevin. Now, Kevin is CEO of Kardstedt Partners, and for 20 years his firm has worked with companies large and small to understand, develop, and implement disruptive technologies used in the execution of consumer packaging and labels. Now, Kevin, it's great to have you with us here today, and welcome to the webinar.
Thanks, Lori. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, and folks, Kevin is going to get us started with the current state of packaging and labeling industry as it relates to late-stage package printing and supply chain enhancements and what is driving change. So over to you, Kevin.
Great, thanks, Lori. And I'd like to draw everybody's attention kind of just to the beginning here before I switch slides. It's supply chain efficiency versus effectiveness. And I just want you to plant that phrase in the back of your mind, or those two words, efficiency and effectiveness, in the back of your mind, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that. I'd like to thank the folks at Memjet for putting this program together and for inviting me to be part of it. I usually like to start these kinds of programs with kind of a look at where everybody fits in the value chain, and I'm sure as soon as this slide went out, you picked out where you fit in the program or in the supply chain. So, but let's take a real-time look. Lori, can you put up the slide that shows where everybody is, what all their opportunities and industry sectors they are, and you can see that there's a good variety of viewers with printers, package printers, consumer goods manufacturers, warehousers, all filling most of the seats. We've taken a lot of time reviewing who is attending this and modifying the presentation right up until a few hours ago so that we can bring to you, the audience, what is important to you and what you're trying to listen for and understand out of these webinars. So remember, it's important for you to fill those online registrations out and that to give the organizers enough information to make the program effective for you. So what I'd like to do as I start these, I usually try to identify some trends, and that's what I've been asked to do today. Identify the trends that are affecting packaging and those who produce packaging and use packaging, which, as you saw, are most of the people in this audience. I speak at a lot of these conferences on this topic and attend conferences all over the world on this particular topic. As part of my research for this project, I did a little Google search on trends in packaging just to see if there's anything new that popped up over the last couple of days. And as you can see, there was a mere 36 million hits on this topic. So to help you out and to kind of boil it down a little bit, I've kind of boiled it down to the top 4 categories. Connecting to customers or connecting with customers. Those in charge of getting products into the hands of consumers are feverishly trying to use the new tools and social media, instant communications, and digital print to better link with their customers. As part of that connection, they also want to be relevant to their customers, because connecting only pays off if that connection ignites a desire of some kind and a positive action, usually but not always culminating in a purchase. While these 2 trends focus on the marketing and communication side, the next 2 focus more on the supply chain. Notice that I use the word effectiveness rather than the more commonly used term efficiency. Efficiency is a word that most often conjures up an image of doing something faster, while doing something effectively means you can do it, it can be done better and most likely cheaper. Hence, the phrase better, faster, cheaper scenario comes up. We're going to talk about this as we get further along and do the case study. One of the ways brands are connecting better with consumers is by having every single form of customer-facing communication, whether it be a TV ad, a brochure, a catalog, a website, social media, point-of-purchase displays, primary packaging itself, big box pallet trays, and even shipping containers, carrying a very consistent and concise message to the consumer. Again, looking at our audience, we can see that most everyone will be familiar with the trend of SKU proliferation. Brands are slicing and dicing their consumers into smaller and smaller demographic groups, sometimes creating products and packaging that are specific to a small group of customers that would have been overlooked or underserved just a few years ago. For the major brands and retailers, big data will be an area of major investment over the next few years. Mobile communication tracking allows retailers to understand consumer action and habits while they're inside their store, and will allow them to further segment products and services. Near-field communications, the same technology that's used in Apple Pay and Google Wallet, are high-end examples of this technology. It's also been integrated into high-value packaging for consumer electronics and pharmaceuticals. QR codes and their next generation of full image codes are allowing customers to use their smartphones and even their smartwatches to connect to product information prior to the purchase, right in the store. You know, by the way, if they use the store's free Wi-Fi, which many do, the store can capture that information for analysis and use later. What brands learn about their customers will help them to create brand information that is not only personalized but customized. In a study done by our friends at Shore Packaging, researchers have found that customers view products that are in customized packaging to be more valuable. Now, don't worry about copying these numbers down in these next 2, in this slide and the next one, because this is available to you in the white paper that you can get by being part of this webinar. Taking that customized packaging concept a step further, the researchers found that customers would be more inclined to buy that customized product that they perceive with a higher value. Again, the bottom line, customization sells. So far we've talked about trends that affect what packaging looks like and functions like, making a better and more robust connection between brands and consumers. Now let's talk about how we get those cool packages into the hands of those who want to buy them. If you think back a few minutes ago, I told you about the two trends related to the supply chain. That's where the rubber meets the road. The operations folks in the supply chain, and we know you're out there in the audience, are saying, how do I get more effective? And that's why I'm sitting here. How can I get there? How do I reduce my work in process, my finished goods inventories, my raw materials cost? How do I make my supply chain more effective? Highly productive, next generation single-pass inkjet package printers is an enabling technology that has the power to help the users bring added effectiveness to their supply chain. Shown here are two examples of next generation inkjet technology that are helping suppliers bring effectiveness to the supply chain. Just like any technology, there are different degrees of productivity, functionality, quality, and investment related to these systems, both delivering single-pass digital solutions. The production press on the right delivers high throughput and quality that fits the needs of a specific group of users and end users. It is one of the growing number of high throughput presses targeting high volume users. The one on the left fits the needs of a different set of users, and at about $100,000 can fit into the supply chain in different places than the larger systems. Because of its small footprint and functionality, it brings a lot of flexibility to short runs, on-demand corrugated boxes. Single-pass printing has been around in the labels sector for more than 2 decades. With the latest generation of presses, similar supply chain management issues can be addressed. On the right side, you see a high-volume, high-end digital inkjet press that is very well suited for label printers looking to replace analog presses. On the left, you see 2 single-pass inkjet systems that can fit into the supply chain in multiple places, enabling a change in where and who and how short-run digital on-demand labels are printed. Innovative thinkers are finding ways to bring these disrupted solutions into solutions that make for a more effective supply chain. And as we're moving on now, I'd like to throw it back to Lori to invite our special guest to the market who does exactly what I'm talking about. Back to you, Lori.
All right, thank you so much, Kevin. And I know you're not going too far. You'll be back for our Q&A session.
I'm sticking around. I'm right here.
All right. And next up, we do have George Moretti. Now, George has worked in the corrugated and packaging supplies industry, enjoying success with many independent, privately held companies, as well as several large national packaging companies for the last 44 years. He's with us today to share a case study and his experience in the short-run digital print world. So it is a pleasure to have you here with us today, and I'm going to pass it over to you, George.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you, Kevin. And I also would like to thank Memjet for allowing me to share some of my real-life experiences with the audience today. I'd like to start a little bit, give you a short background on our company, Innovative Integrated Solutions. We've been around about 26 years, and we're involved supplying and helping customers in the United States and also the Canadian market with customized packaging, online order fulfillment. We do distribution and warehousing. We're located in Kenmore, New York, which is a suburb of Buffalo, New York, and serve the greater Western New York area, and many of our clients are Canadian looking for a U.S. footprint. The products that we have provided over the years are all different types of corrugated boxes, packaging supplies, film, stretch wrap, tapes, janitorial supplies, and within the last 12 months, we've been fortunate enough to be able to offer digitally printed boxes by purchasing the Accelergraphics 4200 printer, which has been a great addition to our arsenal. We also serve worldwide distribution and fulfillment for our clients who are throughout the world. We offer expert packaging and design ability, kitting, co-packing, customized packaging solutions, and we are very experienced in the execution of new product launches. We have a couple of locations in this area, approaching about 250,000 square feet, and last year we added a pack-size box making machine and married that with our Accelergraphics digital printer, and also with some of our great corrugated packaging suppliers. we've been able to produce some superior products that I'm going to share with you shortly. We have 26 full-time employees who are very experienced, dedicated, flexible, and they have a positive, proactive, can-do attitude to help our customers. You might be asking, well, what do we do? And we like to say that we like to partner with companies to create very innovative, integrated solutions to help them solve their problems. We do a lot of back-end online order fulfillment, and when the internet, as it continues to grow every single year with online orders, as everybody is experiencing, we're doing the picking and the packing for customers all over the world and shipping out same day in many cases to their clients all over the world. And one of the advantages of having the Accelergraphics is we've now been able to put our customers' logos on the shipping boxes rather than just print on a brown box. We're also doing customized printing on demand. If we have a client who gets 30 or 100 or 95 orders in on that day, we can actually print on that printer that day their logo and ship out same day to their clients. For contract packaging, doing collations and kit assembly, we're able to customize and personalize the printing on all of their packaging for each one of our customers. I really like to think that sometimes we're just the last piece of the puzzle for some of our clients who are looking to grow their business. Here's a couple of examples for some clients that we work with on a regular basis that we offer to enhance their shelf appeal. If you go all the way to the right, you see the boxes in the upper right hand corner, they're all damaged. This particular client ships small engine parts on the internet. Sometimes there's 300, 400, 500 orders in a day. The product comes in from overseas looking exactly like you see those boxes many times. And when the client came to visit us and saw our ability to print on corrugated containers, he asked if we could print his logo on. So we simply were able to take his logo, just a simple two-color print, put it on a white shipping box, and we repack the boxes that goes out to his customer. And the image that he has now in the marketplace is much better than, as you can appreciate, the image that he would have if he tried to ship the boxes in the upper right-hand corner. Another new opportunity that just happened a couple of weeks ago is in the center. If you take a look at the Johnson Estate wine pack, that's a special wine that's produced in a 12 375 milliliter bottles. It's an ice wine that's really famous for this part of the world. They were shipping in a plain white box with a label that you can see. And they asked us if there's anything that we could do with our digital ability, and seriously, we just went online at their website, popped off Johnson Estate, and printed a couple of white boxes to show them the difference of what it could look like on a small run for the ice wine. They only need a few hundred boxes with the inserts, but we were able to do this and save them the cost of the print plates, which would have been substantial. The box below that, the 360 Rise, is an interesting one that also just happened a few weeks ago. The client is currently shipping their product in a solid black printed die cut RSC with 3 colors printed over the black and reversed out. We took a reverse approach with our digital printer, went online again, took off their website, their logo, and printed that color that you see right there, 4-color, on a simple plain white box, which they absolutely loved. And in this case, it was less expensive than what they currently were doing. I want to talk specifically a little more about a case study, a live case study with a company called Rochester Midland Corporation. The people at Rochester Midland are great people to work with. We've had a relationship for a long time, and their purchasing group and their marketing group and all of the people there really understand the complete supply chain, and that allowed us to come up with a solution that made sense for all parties. It was a win-win for everybody. They have 5 main business units: food sanitation, water, energy, restoration, clean air, facilities, and within that group they have approximately 120 SKUs. One of their challenges, of many of them that they had, is their customers were forcing them into much shorter lead time to get their product. and their packaging process really didn't support their production process. The corrugated supplier that they had requested that they ordered 8,000 plain boxes in order to keep the price point low, but that meant that Rochester Midland had to store these plain boxes in their warehouse and manage the inventory. Now, because of so many SKUs, Rochester Midland had 120 pre-printed labels stored in 5 different locations. And also in the plant, they used 5,000 square feet that was strictly dedicated to manually applying the labels, peel and stick, to every one of the boxes. Some of the cartons needed more than one label. So as you can appreciate, it took more time to get the box ready to ship to their client. And their packaging really wasn't consistent with the Rochester Midland brand. We decided to come up with a proposal after talking to the team, and what we thought was we would let them order only what they needed and said, you know, you can order what you want and when you need it. IIS would provide the exact quantity of packaging for the next 5 days customized by product. Each release would have its own lot code, and the next phase, the next step for us is to coordinate their supply chain, and I'll speak more to that in a minute. Some of the benefits realized already to Rochester Midland is they were able to eliminate manual labeling process and the people and the labor within their manufacturing plant. They had no excess or obsolete inventory within their building, and all of the print and the SKUs, they have 0 print plate cost. And we also offered no minimum order quantity. We have run orders for them of 3 of one item, 6, 12, 250, 500. So there's 0. We would run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever they needed for a minimum order. By going with the digital print, there are 0 defects. Every box is 100% inspected. And the tremendous brand identity growth, their marketing manager just sent me a picture of what the boxes look like on their floor compared to what they used to. And as the marketing group continues to call on new accounts, the brand that they're promoting in the marketplace is enhanced substantially. A relatively new benefit to RMC, continuing to work with the great team there, is we're starting to look at managing their complete supply chain for 3 different vendors. So the vendors are the corrugated, the bottle manufacturers in 2 states, in 2 cities, on a weekly basis. So we're beginning to come up with a run where we would get the orders, say, on a Monday, print on Tuesday, Wednesday, deliver Thursday, pick up bottles, send it to one location, pick up bottles to go to their other location in Chicago, and then continue to do this on a 5 to 7 day supply run. Both facilities will have 0 inventory, and we will be able to manage the complete supply chain and help them tremendously. Here's an example of one of the cartons that we looked at with their packaging before and after. The before was a plain brown box, label was put on, 2-inch clear tape, and what they asked us is, could we, with the Accelergraphic 4200, print that label on each one of the boxes if they wanted that. We weren't 100% sure, so we took a sample of every label that was inside their facility, and we printed it on the Accelergraphic printer and took it to them for approval. We were able to scan every barcode, print every type of label that they were peeling, sticking, and now we went to a gradient print, about 80-85% coverage, and match that color consistently with the label that was inside on the 2.5 gallon container. Here's kind of an example of what some of the prints look like. We put this in our box making room. On these particular items, there's 2 different sizes. We have approximately 45 to 50 different SKUs and prints. And if you look closely, you will see there's a different lot code on every one of these. And we can print these orders every week, and they change their lot code, which they need to do, and we print the lot code on a weekly basis for them. You might want to ask yourself the question, well, why did they go digital? Well, the higher quality graphics was incredible. We weren't sure exactly what the customers were going to think of their new graphics. But I can tell you the marketing manager had told us that their brand, their products get front shelf positioning because there's no comparison to the way their print looks to the competition's print with the labels that nobody can read. Major advantage for them, there's no labels required. We print everything they need on the box, including the lot codes, and very important is the revision number. So we communicate electronically through the web and put it into a Dropbox so that we're printing the proper updated rev number every single time. If they don't match, we won't print it. They have zero inventory. And again, no minimum order quantity. So for both of us, it's very economical to run short runs, and their lead times, we can actually run an order in one day. The shortest lead time we've had was about 2.5 hours, and that included 1 hour and 5 minutes driving the boxes to their manufacturing site. It was just an error that was made, and we needed to get the boxes to them with the proper lot code as they were filling. We printed them instantly, put them in the car, and drove them down from there. So we're now analyzing the total cost reductions in the supply chain, and it is not costing them or us more than it would have doing it the other way. And we're continuing to gain more cost reduction as we continue to enhance the supply chain. Obviously, with this type of print, there's a lot less waste, and there's no obsolescence for the print, which could change instantly, and it has. And why did they go digital? One of the main reasons, we can print in-house to their demand on our Accelergraphics printer. This is an interesting comment from Cale Osterberg, our Director of Purchasing at Rochester Midland. And he said, when he looked at the product that they have inside the customer's warehouse, our product stands out against the competitors like a flashlight in the dark room, which is an unbelievable statement. And their marketing group is tremendously happy with it, and they're continuing to add SKUs and new product lines on a weekly basis. Kevin?
George? Hey, nice job there, buddy.
Thank you.
Folks in the audience, George and I have had a chance to, we've really become close friends during the planning for this presentation. And like I said, I've been over to his facility there. It's a wonderful facility. They've got a lot of potential. They've got a lot of customers that they do a lot of different things for. So it's really been great to do. So what we decided to do in along the same flavor of trying to address the needs of the audience that we're talking to, because you put down what you're interested in finding out, and that, George and I are going to do kind of a version of a fireside chat here and talk about some of the things that you folks in the audience put in what we want to learn in this presentation. And what kind of struck me as we were going through this, George, you've implemented or integrated a digital printer into your facility so that you can help, kind of modify the supply chain and maybe make the supply chain for your customers more effective. So I think another word that you used in there is you added it to your arsenal of tools. I really liked that analogy with it. You brought in the big gun to be able to address some things in that. You want to talk about efficient supply chain for a second?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Kevin. Throughout my 44 years and recently in the last 10 or 15 years, I've had the great opportunity to work for some very large national public companies and manage their graphic and display group, and also get involved with, from a supply chain standpoint, what makes sense from a cost standpoint for these people. And when we added our arsenal, and if you take a look at the cost, and Kevin, were you asking me specifically about the cost on that original slide?
Well, not yet. We'll get to that one in just a second. Yeah. But the idea, yeah, we can do that now, because it's a good segue into it, George. Because a lot of the people that put questions in, what they wanted to learn, they didn't specifically say what are the costs, involved in it, but they implied in their questions, and there was probably 10 or 15 of them that kind of fell into that category. Is how do you how do you calculate the cost? How do you calculate the savings? How do you calculate the impact to this? And I know using the Rochester Midland example, you can talk about. As a matter of fact, in the online poll at the beginning of the thing, 47% said that one of their challenges is having to buy large quantities to keep the lot cost down, or the the piece cost down. So let's talk about that a little bit, back and forth.
No, sure, absolutely, positively, and it goes back to kind of what do you look for from a digital standpoint, and how we support some of our customers. Is in this particular case in the Rochester Midland, they were using label to peel and stick all of the labels. They had to buy excessive inventory in order to keep the cost competitive, and their brand was, I won't say boring, but it was just the same as everybody else inside of every single warehouse. So we looked for the opportunity to add value in the supply chain that made sense for both parties, and we were able to take advantage of the ability to use the digital printer in addition to the box making equipment. And going back, it worked in this particular account from the difference in SKUs, which will end up probably being over 150. On the other part of our business, the fulfillment side, people are looking for brand awareness, especially the small to medium companies that start up and they're shipping online, and their package is the same as everybody else's. So we were easily able to recognize a market need in enhancing the brand awareness for some smaller companies and help them grow dynamically with their image in the marketplace also. So I look for, where is the cost in the whole supply chain, not just the price of the box. Where's the cost? Are they peeling and sticking labels? Are they using a brown box that is a stock box and putting fillers inside of that? Because we can make a customized box either by using one of our great corrugated vendors and or taking a pack size machine and making the box size that they need to keep the size down. So there's a lot of opportunity. You just got to look differently through a different set of glasses than versus, hey, just give me a quote on 5,000 RSCs that are printed 4-panel 2-color.
Right. And and that boils down to a lot of things. I mean, you got to look at the total cost of ownership in this, if you to use a phrase there, but because certainly the box on the right, that beautiful white box that's the exact right size for it, has to cost more for the specific box, just for that box, than the one on the left. But take a look at the difference and take a look at the advantages that the whole program does, and all of a sudden it's okay, I'll spend a few cents more for that box because it's part of a value-added program that does it. So I know we could talk for about a half an hour on this one in particular, but let's move on to this one. Talk about this a little bit. This is another interesting scenario that we talked about. Give me a little bit on this one.
Absolutely. No, great. That's great. I really happen to love this one because this is a plain brown box, and on the left side it's a very clean looking box, but as they get shipped, there's no brand there. You don't know what's inside the carton, and someone might just put a label on that. This is for one of our smaller customers that was using a stock box, and we were just shipping their product in there. And when I saw what their logo was, I pulled it off, and we just decided to try it with the Accelerographic printer, and we printed their logo on the RSC and asked them, would you really like this? It was only a couple of pennies per box. There was no plate charges at all. And now we've converted every single box that we run, and every product that they ship out has this single one-color digital print. They could change it anytime they want to do that. And I love the look of it because it's clean, and it was just taking a plain brown box and making it just a little bit better and their brand awareness for their clients.
That's great. A little creativity goes a long way. And I know it sounds kind of funny, when somebody says, and you've said it a couple of times, he just went to their website and pulled their logo off of their website. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not, you didn't need a great big huge, computer system and designer and all that to do it. Some creative people with some basic tools can make this happen. Now, obviously, they probably will send you their good logo and that for it, when you get into the whole thing. But to show the concept and to get it together, that's pretty cool.
Well, then I'm glad you said that, because we do not have a graphic artist on staff. It's myself and our general manager and another fellow that's in there. And you do need good artwork to go with this, but most of the artwork, most of the artwork that's on there we can easily just pop off and then put it in a digital printer and print it.
Very cool, very cool. Hey George, another group of questions that came out, and we've talked about this extensively too. Another group of questions kind of circled around, give us some ideas. What are some thoughts, some ideas, some examples of where we can do it. And again, probably a couple 10,000 of those 36 million hits in that Google search. We're probably talking about very specific opportunities in that. But let's talk a little bit about some ideas that you've had and some things. This is a great example. I mean, everybody in the world, my recycling bin has a couple of those boxes on the left-hand side in it right now. So, everybody can kind of see those, and then the one on the right is just like, holy cow, is that a billboard? Did you pull that out of the Sunday Circular? What is that? So, bit about this. This is cool.
This is another one that I happen to love because one of the markets for the Excella Graphics, and before we bought ours, I was able to call several people who owned one, and they were very nice to share their experience with the Excella Graphics, which helped me tremendously. On the left-hand side is a fairly well-printed pizza box compared to some of the ones that you see that say, now that you've tried the rest, try the best. A friend of ours, Tony Farrell, owns a couple pizzerias, and we were talking about the ability to print differently with our Excella Graphics. And Tony was nice enough to send me his artwork, a whole bunch of different artwork, and we just did, within 2 minutes, we printed exactly what you see on the screen. And what we're proposing for the pizza industry is this. We're going to have a good, a better, and a best print, and because they're very price sensitive, and they want to make sure they get the best value and the lowest price, quite frankly, for their boxes. So part of our strategy, our marketing strategy, we're going to grow inside the pizza business and do a good, a better, best pizza box, and we think it'll help some of the smaller pizzerias grow. And we can also do marketing. We can do different print on here. You can make a holiday print very, very easily with the Excella Graphics.
And you and I were brainstorming a little bit about things you could do with the pizza and wing industry, and that, as far as doing promotions and printing discount programs on it, maybe even doing it with teaming up with a company, with the business next door in the strip mall that you're in or whatever. So there's a lot of things that creative minds could come up with for doing that with boxes on demand.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the ones that came from one of the owners of the pizzerias is he said, George, I'm going to sell advertisement, and that'll help me pay for the boxes.
Yeah, there you go.
Brilliant idea. Brilliant idea.
Brilliant. Okay, another example. You touched on this one at the beginning when we were doing it, and we got about 2 or 3 more minutes that I want to take on this fireside chat stuff before we get into the questions from the audience kind of thing. But again, this one, the boxes come in from overseas. They're in a container. They got to get to the customer, and geez, you don't want to just kind of straighten that box on the left out and put a label on it and ship it out. You're doing this for them.
Well, and this was an interest. This started a very small company. We do up to 400, 500, 600 orders a day. He was shipping all of his products in a plain brown box, and he said, I want the cheapest box that'll work. And we were playing around with the printer, and we showed him one of these, and he walked in. We didn't tell him what we were going to do, and he saw it, and he said, can you do this? How much would it cost me? And he said, never mind, I want it on a white box. I don't care really what it costs because I love the way that it looks when my products go out. So we now ship every single order, every single day out in it's a white shipping box, and we just vary the size based on what we need with this 2-color logo.
And he's loving it.
Loves it.
Okay, last one before we get into the Q&A side. This is a great story. You told a little bit about it again, but let's dig into it just a little bit more.
Yeah, very quickly. This is the reverse thinking one. This particular customer just happened a couple of weeks ago. They currently buy a solid black printed RSC that is die cut, and then there's 3 colors that are printed on it. It really doesn't look that well. I actually destroyed the original carton. We took the 360 Rise off the website, printed it on a simple plain white box, showed it to the owner of the company, and he said, you got to be kidding me. What's the cost? It was actually less than what he was currently paying. And we could tell him we could print. He's got, I think, 25 or 30 SKUs. Every SKU could have its own shipping master that matches the product that's inside. Loved it.
Wow, that's great. And again, you pull it off the internet and show them what it is. And the great example here is the idea that you're actually making the box less busy, less less to it because it had so much more before.
Exactly. Digital printing is very, very exciting. There's so much opportunity. It's incredible.
Okay. That's great. That's great. I just lost where I was going with it. Coming back to the poll question that came out before. One of the two things that kind of go hand in hand, the tooling cost and the obsolete inventory. Those kind of go hand in hand. Tooling cost, just to give a perspective on this. How do you talk a little bit about the reduction in tooling costs and what that might have as an impact to to potential users out there?
No, I'll be happy to. If you take a look at the Rochester Midland prints that had, where there's 45 or 50 different prints on the one or two sizes, 85% gradient, those print plates would cost north of $3,000. I'll even be conservative, $2,000. So imagine if you had 100 different SKUs, $2,000 per print. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. Our tooling cost, zero.
Yeah.
Nice comparison.
Well, and in fairness, you can use those plates over and over again. It's not a matter of, you use them once and for every print job you do it, but it locks you in. Your print is static. You can't change it as often as you like, and you'd like to be able. So my thought is, and George, you haven't had it as you haven't been into it for years yet. You've been into it for 6 months or whatever. Do you think that you're going to find your customers treat this like, they get addicted to being able to change? Hey, you know what? Let's change it this month. Let's do a Christmas version. And all of a sudden they realize, it's got to be freeing for them to think of what they can do with the flexibility that you offer.
You are right. We've only been doing it for about a year, but I can tell you this, that every single client or anybody who walks through our graphics room and sees the machinery and sees what we've done, the first thing they say is, hey, can you take a look at my box and tell me what it would cost, or can you do this and can you do that? We've not had one person who did not convert into a digital printed carton yet.
Oh,
and
that's a testimony right there. Holy cow.
It's been a lot of fun. I'm telling you, it's an awful lot of fun. It gets more exciting every single day, and as we continue to grow our fulfillment business and online people are ordering online all the time.
Yeah.
The printing we can do is fantastic.
Oh, that's great. What a great testimony there. Hey, Lori, let's throw it back to you to get into some of the live questions. If you want to shoot those at us, George and I are all warmed up and ready to go.
All right, ready to go then. I'm going to start our first question for George. David's asking, how difficult is the Accelographic printer to use? It seems like it's complicated.
Oh, wonderful question. And you're talking to a fellow who who did zero. I sold a lot of print in the past, but I've actually never done it. But when it came in, we had it running within 4 hours. And the thing that took probably the most amount of time was understanding the software for the IQ software, dropping it in. But it was not difficult. I was printing boxes the following day. Our general manager has been able to spend lots of hours with the people at the Zonte Memjet to get additional training. It's very easy to use. I won't tell you that someone can just walk up and start printing, but once you understand the basics of how computers think and PDF files and Adobe Illustrator, you just really do drag it and drop it down and it starts printing for you. So it is not that difficult, and there's a tremendous amount of support to help you at all of the time.
Okay, this question for you, Kevin. Do you have to sell digital differently than selling regular print services?
Oh, good question. Yes and no. Mostly yes. And I'm going to talk about it from a print provider standpoint. George, why don't you grab this then after I kind of pontificate on it a little bit and talk about it from a fulfillment house standpoint.
Okay.
But generally speaking, when package printers, and this has happened in the label industry and in the corrugated industry as well, when a printer puts a product like this into their workflow or into their offering, their product offering, if they're selling print, if that's what they do, they sell printed boxes all the time, then the mentality and the thought process has to change. Yeah, first they're putting it in for a reason. If they're putting it in for new markets and new things that they're going to be offering, and all of a sudden they're going to go from 10,000 box orders to 10 box orders, the mentality of selling that and the whole rationale is different. You're actually even probably going to sell it to different customers as you go through, because certain ones are going to fit into certain things. So the idea of having a sales force that's specially trained, and possibly even a special sales force that goes out and sells this, because there's a different mentality for it, you have different compensation models for it, so the whole kind of thing changes. That again is from a print provider standpoint. George, why don't you grab this one from a fulfillment house standpoint?
I'll be happy to. And from a fulfillment house standpoint, if you're packaging different products, the digital actually will end up selling itself if you take the time to take a look at how a client is currently printing or not printing, just plain or putting labels on, and versus what you can do. The samples and examples that I showed you here were really just taken off the web and popped in to show exactly what they look like. We would probably enhance that. From a selling perspective, not everybody can sell this into the general marketplace just as well as the general marketplace can appreciate the value. So you have to look at where is the value added, where, I won't call it a pain point like some people would recognize that, is what is the customer client trying to accomplish? For me, if it's a fulfillment and they want their brand because it's a relatively new company, or they want to send different brand look at different parts of the country or different countries. We do ship to almost every country in the world. You can change the message, change the print, and so it kind of, I would say that it kind of sells itself. When people see it, they ask a lot more questions on it.
Okay, that would sound like it would be very, very practical that way. So perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question here. We'll start with you, George. Kip is asking, do you print on completed or already made boxes?
Actually, both. And I will tell you that quickly that there's an advantage to printing on a box. If you want great coverage, and the supplier we use to do the Rochester Midland, we die cut the boxes on 44 ECT white. We print on a beautiful surface, and then we join after the print. We can print over scores, we can print over indentations, it's just fantastic. We also can print on joint boxes, which means the major advantage for us in the marketplace is we can print on your boxes, our competitors' boxes, or the boxes that we make on the pack size. So it doesn't make a difference to me whether it's joined, unjoined, but it might make a difference depending on what look you're trying to get from a digital. But the answer is yes, you can print on joined and or unjoined cartons.
Okay. Another question here for you, George. Gianluigi, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is asking, how long did it take to train your operators to use the digital printer, and do the operators need any special skills?
The skill set that an operator would need, and I learned this also sharing my experiences with the other owners of the Exela Graphics, is you really need someone who understands the graphics world or Adobe Illustrator or PDF files. If they can understand how to manipulate those, and I'm not saying create, I'm just saying move a file and drop it into the IQ software, you'll be fine with that. You do not need years of schooling on it. Like I said, we do not have an artist on staff. Myself, the general manager, and we have a couple of people in the plant that we are teaching. It takes about a week or so to really get someone to understand the relationship between the print, the proof, the software, and then the machine. So once they understand the connectivity, it's fine. It is not I will tell you that you never stop learning on it because the capabilities are incredible once you really start working with it and doing print. You just got to jump in the water and do it and then learn. So someone needs to understand how computers think. Some software, Adobe experience is great, and if they don't have it, then you can relatively easily train them within a week or so.
And Lori, if I could jump in on this one too. I've been around on the digital side for, since the mid 80s, believe it or not. I am that old. And in the past, you really, these folks, these operators on these kinds of tools and that, you really had to know what you're doing from a technology standpoint. And that a lot of these people that now that are, a lot of more people are computer savvy and got it, and the solutions are much more in line with normal operations. So, it doesn't take a rocket scientist really to put this together. You can do it with good good staff initially. I'd also like to point out here too, Lori, if you could find that picture, go back up a couple of slides to that one where all those colored boxes are on the shelf. There you go. That part right there. When I went into George's facility just to talk to him about, doing the webinar and all that, and I saw those boxes on there, they created all those vignettes, okay? Those are gradations in there. That's really, really tough to do, okay? To get it to come out and to print the way you want it to do. Now, when I say it's really, really tough to do, it's not a fall off a log kind of easy thing to do. These guys took that on and figured out how to do that and made that and took that to the customer. And just the idea of being able to figure that all out, they didn't have artwork to go from. They had line art to go from, and they had to figure out how to do that and to make it look consistent and good in that. And I looked at that and I said, who's your artist? Who did that? And he goes, the guy over there that's running this other stuff. And I can't remember the gentleman's name at your place, George, that did that. But you guys did a great job with just figuring that thing out. So that's kind of a testament to, I don't want to say how easy this is, but it's not rocket science. You don't need a PhD, somebody to be able to do those. The training is great for it, and the process is good.
All right, got a couple more questions here in the queue slated for you, George. This one is a compilation from a few different attendees having asked it. The question is, what other digital equipment are you using along with the Accelergraphics?
I don't have anything else but the Accelergraphics, and I'm actually considering a second one based on the response I've been getting recently. But it's the only one we have.
All right. And this one, question from John, can you talk about the quantity, scale, fit of digital versus traditional, high volume runs, product launch versus maturity?
From a product launch, we can our speed to market literally can be 1 day if you had a product launch. So if you were going to compare a classic product launch for a marketing group where you're going to ship all over the country product A, so you have to get the tooling prepared for the cartons. You've got to get a carton manufacturer to make those. You might need to put some labels on. And then it might be a 2 or 3 week process for you to launch a brand new product and get to the market. One of the advantages we have, because we can't print on anybody's boxes or the ones we make, but we can, the printing is our speed to market is as fast as you approve the artwork, we can start printing. So speed to market is unbelievable timing, same day, next day, certainly within 48, 72 hours, versus the comparable process of working with another corrugated manufacturer, getting your plates, and then getting the supply chain. You might have to buy 8, 9, 10,000 blanks to get the price point where you need it. If you tried to order 5, 10, 15, 20, 100, 200 boxes, the cost of those boxes because of the setup of the very expensive equipment inside of most manufacturing would be almost prohibitive, in addition to adding the plate cost to that also. So speed to market is incredible. Cost, scalability is there. When you get above, if you were going to print the same, and maybe this was part of the question, if you had a product that was going to print higher volume and be more consistent, you really don't want to do that with the Accelergraphics. There's a break point depending on the product of where you would start to go possibly to a flexo print or into a litho or different than a digital print. But most of the world is going the small quantity, quick turnaround, lots of SKUs, and everybody has their own different brand and regional. So I'm not sure I answered exactly all of the points of that question, but
Oh, absolutely. And John, if we missed any part of your question, we certainly can continue that conversation after the webinar. And it does look like we're reaching the top of the hour here. I wanted to give each of our panel members just a moment to leave us with any final comments. I'm going to go ahead and start with you, George.
Well, I would like to say thank you to everybody who took the time to listen to the webinar today. I would like to thank Kevin and the people from MEMJET for allowing me to participate. And I will tell you that this is a very exciting time in the packaging world. Even though I've been in it for 44 years, I'm having much more fun now than I've had in my whole career because of the opportunities to supply great looking packaging, quick turnaround with some of the new equipment that's out in the marketplace. And I'm here to help anybody if they do need any help. My information is on the back of the presentation, and you can get it. I'm a phone call away or an email away. If you need my help, I'm here to help you.
All right. Thank you, George. Over to you, Kevin.
Yeah, and I'll say the same thing. Thanks for everybody, and thanks to George. But the kind of the biggest takeaway in this is that the exciting part of digital is allowing the supply chain to morph into something that's more effective for everybody. And whether it's a small unit or a large unit, multi-million-dollar digital printer or $100,000 digital printer, the process is changing. You got to choose the right tool and figure out where it fits in there, but the tools are becoming available to really make some quality change. So I also welcome any phone calls or emails or whatever, and maybe George and I will team up on bringing a solution to the market for you. So.
All right. And before signing off, I just want to thank each of you for joining us and trust that you found today of value. Of course, special thanks to Kevin and George for taking the time out today and for providing such fantastic information, and to our host and sponsor, MEMJET. Also, quick thanks to our logistics producer, Terry Holland of WebAttract, for her behind-the-scenes collaboration and support. Most importantly, again, thanks for joining. As your moderator, this is Lori Dearman saying have a great rest of the week. Bye for now.